Elsewhere this morning, Simon, reports out that the Albanese government has asked Treasury to look at options about scaling back negative gearing and capital gains tax concessions. What's your response to that?
Here we go again, Pete, would be the simple response. The Albanese Labor government saying one thing on tax policy, but looking at doing another. Before the last election, there were going to be no changes to stage 3 tax cuts, no changes to superannuation changes, no tinkering with franking credits, yet they've done all of those things. Now they're running the same tricky language. We have no plans, no intentions in relation to negative gearing, yet clearly they are lining up on negative gearing and capital gains tax. So these are quite remarkable revelations, but quite unsurprising that the Albanese government would be once again looking at tax grabs at a time when they should instead be looking at how to curtail inflation.
What if it's not a tax grab, though? What if they don't pursue this? Rather, it's a cap on properties, bearing in mind some politicians on both sides have multiple properties. Is that not reasonable to at least look at?
Well, this will take the form on any of the versions that you could consider under what's been reported today of an effective tax grab. That caps, limits, cuts or otherwise will have impacts that see government collect and hold on to more tax revenue. And that's been the symptom of the Albanese government, the trend of the Albanese government throughout, because their spending is out of control and therefore they've got to keep looking for additional tax hits. Now, why is this troublesome and concerning policy? Because you need to have the right incentives in your tax policy to ensure that you have investment in the rental market as well. And critically, that's where when Labor previously have toyed with this idea in government and in opposition, ultimately the experts and others have come out and indicated the problem is you will just reduce investment in housing at the very time when you need more investment in housing.
Okay, just a final and quick one here, Simon, before we go. If inflation falls to 2 to 3% today, is that a sign that the government's doing its job, or is this, as Michele Bullock says, distorted data?
Well, there are distortions, and the Reserve Bank calling out the way in which the Albanese government has tried to set up essentially temporary impacts on inflation rather than tackling core and underlying inflation is the real problem here. When Labor was elected, Australia had some of the lowest inflation amongst developed economies. Now, after 3 Labor budgets, Australia has some of the highest inflation amongst developed economies. We see interest rates coming down around the rest of the world, but under Anthony Albanese, they're staying higher for longer in Australia because of, as the Reserve Bank has called out, the scale of public and government spending.